Hello everyone, welcome to the 100th episode of BrainScratch. I'm very proud that we've already hit that milestone. That does include BrainScratch Searchlight episodes, of which this is officially number 19. However, I put them all in the same BrainScratch playlist because it's just a split off of the main BrainScratch show. So with all those considerations, we are now at our 100th episode, and I could not be more proud. I've met many wonderful people online through doing this show. I've met some family members of missing people and had some very heart-to-heart conversations with them. The experience of this show has led me onto several radio interviews, and it's just affected my life in a major way. And I hear so often from you guys about how you appreciate my approach, how you appreciate how much work I put into each episode, and I can't thank you enough for that support because those comments really keep me going. So thank you for all of your wonderful support, and let's all pat ourselves on the back for hitting 100 episodes and hope that that is just the start, only scratching the surface of BrainScratch. With all of that being said, I would like to get into today's Searchlight episode. Here we are looking at Brooke Henson. This is one that many of you have asked me to look into, and there's a little bit of a problem when you're researching this case. Let me show you. Here is a search on Brooke Henson in YouTube, and the first thing to come up is a picture of someone that is not Brooke Henson, although it is related to the Brooke Henson case. Yes, Brooke Henson had an impostor, and the Brooke Henson case, minus the impostor, didn't seem to get a whole lot of coverage. It did get some media coverage, but as soon as this impostor came into play, it definitely brought the story to a new arena. It was featured on America's Most Wanted, 48 Hours Mysteries. Is it 48 Hours Mysteries or 24 Hours? I don't know. My brain's kind of fried right now after the research, but it got featured on a lot of major media. Even Rolling Stone wrote an article primarily about the impostor, and that is where there's a challenge in researching this case because there are very few facts. The facts don't seem to have been gone into in a very detailed way. It doesn't seem like any investigators really tried to tear into the core the core issues that were at hand when Brooke disappeared. Instead, when this imposter came about, all the focus kind of went to the imposter. So it's weird because in one way you'd think this is probably helping the case because now it's exposing more people to Brooke's story. However, in the news coverage that I've seen and the 48 Hours Mysteries special on this, they only give a very few minutes to Brooke's actual story, and the majority of the information is more about her imposter, which I think is very unfortunate, and I'm going to only talk about a few aspects of the imposter in this episode. I really want to focus on the core story. Where did Brooke Henson go? What happened to Brooke Henson? Although it's hard to tell that story without talking about the imposter because it definitely rattled the family a bit to hear that she might be alive and living in New York, but I'm jumping ahead. Let's start at the beginning. So we're going to go back to our good old source, the Charley Project. And here we have several pictures of Brooke Henson around 1999. She's been missing since July 4th, 1999 from Travelers Rest, South Carolina. It was in the very early morning hours of July 4th. She is endangered missing. Her date of birth is April 17th, 1979. She was 20 years old when she went missing. She's 5'4", 104 pounds, Caucasian female, blonde hair, brown eyes. Henson's ears are pierced and her hair was dyed brown at the time of her disappearance. She smoked Marlboro cigarettes at the time of her 1999 disappearance and did not normally wear makeup. Her nickname is Brookie. She was wearing a tan tank top, dark green shorts, black sandals, a silver watch on her left wrist, and a silver bracelet on her right wrist. So let's get into the details of this story. Henson resided with her family in Travelers Rest, South Carolina in 1999. She hosted a party with several friends during the evening of July 3rd, 1999. Henson's parents returned from a concert in Charlotte, North Carolina at approximately 2 a.m. on July 4th. She was sitting on their front porch at the time of their arrival. Henson said that she and her boyfriend had a disagreement earlier that night. She told her family members that she planned to walk to Willis's store on the corner of Hawkins Road and Poinsett Highway to purchase cigarettes. Henson departed from the house at approximately 2:30 a.m. after another verbal dispute with her boyfriend and was last seen walking along Henderson Drive. So real quick, I'm just going to pull up a map so we can kind of get a little lay of the land here. So here we're looking at Travelers Rest, South Carolina. Right over here is Henderson Drive, and it looks like Henderson Drive ends into Love Drive, which runs right across here. So I don't know where her parents lived on Henderson Drive, but I would assume it's probably on the end that's closer to the liquor store. I've seen a couple of reports that are saying that it was only a few blocks to the liquor store, which when I look at this map, I mean, I guess it is a few blocks, but they're pretty big blocks. Assuming that they were living close at this end of Henderson, it was the better part of a mile to get to the liquor store that you could see way out over here at the corner of Hawkins and Poinsett Highway. And there's something else that struck me when I looked into this store. It looks like it's an actual store for buying alcohol, and I know now that I live in Minnesota, I'm getting used to the fact that buying alcohol is a bit different in some states as opposed to others. For example, in California, I think even in California there might be some limitations about buying alcohol after 2 a.m., but you can buy it every day of the week for sure. For example, here in Minnesota, you cannot buy alcohol on Sundays. However, you can still go to the bar and buy drinks, which I find really interesting. I'm not quite sure how those laws came to be. But I did look into this shop a little bit, W.E. Willis Liquors, and it appears that at least their new regularly scheduled hours, and we're now looking at this case 16 years after the fact, a little more, they're open from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and closed on Sunday. So I did also dive into alcohol laws in South Carolina, and it seems like they also have certain parts of South Carolina that do not sell liquor on Sundays. And actually, the retail sale of liquor statewide is permitted from 9 a.m. until 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday. Now, guys are probably saying, John, why are you so caught up on this liquor thing? Well, at least for the liquor stores that I see out here, that's all they actually sell is liquor. I mean, you can get cigarettes at some of them as well. However, I seriously doubt that a store would stay open past the hours that it could sell its primary product, especially if it was only to sell, tobacco products or something like that. Why are you going to stay open all night? It doesn't appear, and I don't know, it's pretty hard to judge when we're just looking at Google Maps, but this does not appear to be a gas station. It doesn't seem like there's any other services that they would be selling here in the middle of the night. So right off the bat, when I started looking into the story, first of all, I'm very curious why her parents would let her go walking at that time of night, knowing she's upset, knowing she's fighting with her boyfriend. I mean, they get back from a concert. I assume that they were driving since they were relatively far away. Couldn't someone have given her a ride to just go pick up some cigarettes and bring her back? Of course, when you're emotionally upset, you might want to take a walk. Maybe they understood that she wanted to take a walk just to cool down a little bit. But taking a walk at 2:30 in the morning, I don't know. There's just, I just have this little thing that's nagging at me about that. And then when you couple that up with the fact that that, quote, liquor store doesn't even seem to be open at that time of the night, I'm starting to wonder what the heck this was about. I don't know. If you guys have experience, if any of you are in South Carolina and you know about this liquor store, please fill me in on it. Did it used to be open all night long? Is there other things that they sell that would necessitate them being open 24 hours a day back in those times? Is it possible that because it was a holiday that they had some extended hours or something like that? I'm just having trouble with the logic of the story of her going to buy cigarettes from a liquor store at 2:30 in the morning. But back to the Charley Project. The store is approximately 2 blocks from her residence. She left a note for her boyfriend saying, quote, "Follow me if you care." Henson never returned home and has not been heard from again. Henson's boyfriend, Shaun Shirley, had a volatile relationship with her, and he and his friends refused to cooperate with the investigation into her disappearance. He has a criminal record for drug-related offenses and assaults, but he hasn't been named as a suspect in Henson's disappearance. Many of the people in Henson's life were involved in criminal activity. So, after reading that, and just with the previous issues I was noting about the time frame discrepancy and her going to buy cigarettes, I'm starting to feel like there's a possibility that she was actually going for possibly for some type of drug hookup. Who knows what that could be, but you're going to a liquor store that it appears would be closed at that time of night. You're probably going to meet someone there for something that isn't exactly legal. Charley Project is at least noting that it appears that there was a lot of illegal activity going on in this circle of friends. So just a thought. I'm not saying that that's definitely what happened, but I'm really trying to figure this out. Just a little more detail on that boyfriend. This is from an article at cbsnews.com called Capture the Queen. I believe this was also an episode of their 48 Hours Mysteries. Detective Campbell says the boyfriend, Ricky Shaun Shirley, had convictions for drug violations and assaults. When 20-year-old Brooke disappeared, hours after getting in an argument with him, the family quickly focused its suspicion on Shirley and his friends. And when the cops came calling, Shirley clammed up. He got a lawyer, Campbell recalls. With no cooperating witnesses and no body, Brooke's case was little more than a tangle of rumors and country gossip, but it all pointed in one direction. I believe she was killed and her body was disposed of. Now, there's some newer information that could lead us to not think that that is actually the case here. I still think that there is a chance of it, so it's certainly worth reviewing that. I find it very odd that this boyfriend clammed up like he did, and to get a lawyer to go that far makes me wonder, what is he trying to hide? Obviously he's trying to hide something. Is it just some type of illegal activity? Was it, a drug deal that he was a part of that he didn't want to get busted for, or something along those lines? Or was it something a lot more serious? Does he know what happened to Brooke? Did he arrange for something to happen to her? Did he do something to her himself? There's just a lot of questions for me about his involvement, and it's tough because there is virtually no information out there about his involvement with this case. And if all that criminal activity wasn't enough, here we get into the new twist. In New York City, a woman registered for graduate classes at Columbia University's School of General Studies using Henson's name, date of birth, and social security number. She took criminology and psychology courses for 2 years before anyone noticed. The ruse was discovered in June 2006 when the woman applied for a job under Henson's name, and her prospective employer did an internet search and found out Henson was missing. I've read a lot about this case at WebSleuths. I think they only have 5 pages on it, but I went through all of them, and a lot of people are surprised at the fact that you had an identity thief fooling Ivy League schools, getting into them, taking classes there, taking out a bunch of fake student loans, all under the identity of someone else that was a missing person. And unfortunately, this wasn't the first time that this girl had done this. She had used another missing person for another previous identity. And what's really strange about that whole case, like I said, I don't want to go into it too much. Her name is Esther Elizabeth Reed. I will have a link in the description box below to her Wikipedia, so you can look into it more if you want to. Quite honestly, I watched one of the 48 Hours episodes about her, and I don't want to glorify her any more than media already has. For some reason, they love telling the story of Esther Reed, and it kind of takes the story of Brooke Henson and puts it way in the background, and I don't think that that's respectful, honestly, to what Brooke's situation is. So this girl had trouble in her upbringing, wanted to run away from her family. She has a lot of social anxiety and phobias, and decided that she needed to start stealing identities, and coincidentally also stealing from JCPenney, you know, faking receipts to return things, get a lot more money back out for them, going to school this whole time, kind of jumping schools a little bit. Basically, this is a person that doesn't like to settle down and likes to keep, I think, a fresh circle of people around her so she can manipulate them at her whim. As a matter of fact, even some of the things that she said when I saw her interviewed just kind of had me rolling my eyes. I'm like, she can't get out of it. It's almost like she's a compulsive liar. So it's a tragic enough case. And then when you have the family go through this hoop of thinking, oh my God, there's someone saying that they've found Brooke, that she is actually in New York, all of a sudden you have this family going on the ride of, she's still alive, we're going to get to see her again. As a matter of fact, we have a little quote at WebSleuths. This is by a user that was called Brooke's Angel. They appeared to have inside information in terms of the family's perspective. You know, got to take that with a grain of salt because we don't have a verified identity here, but in terms of me reading through this whole thread, it feels pretty legit to me. Here's just a little insight about the last turn with Esther Elizabeth Reed. Esther Elizabeth Reed is a fugitive from justice who apparently has no, I believe she means conscience there. She not only has stolen our Brooke's identity, but she has stolen others as well. It was so heartbreaking to find out someone had stolen Brooke's identity. To have the hope Brooke is alive and then have it yanked away within a matter of seconds with the words ID theft was completely devastating for the family. And I don't think it takes a genius to see that. And this girl was very, very smart. She was very good at playing chess. She worked her way into these Ivy League schools, manipulating people. If she would have just had a little foresight into, I wonder what's going to happen to the families of these people whose identities I'm stealing, and if she had a little bit of a heart in there somewhere, she might have decided not to do this and maybe take classes under her own name. But I guess at that point you don't have the benefit of being able to rip off people for student loans that you're never going to pay back. I was very disappointed at not only her aspect arriving in this story, but just how the media in a way kind of glorified it. I mean, they were comparing her to the guy from the Catch Me If You Can film, the real guy that was based on. All of a sudden they're comparing her to that guy like it's something glamorous or something. I bet if Hollywood came knocking, there would definitely be a movie about Esther Reed before there would be about Brooke Henson, and that's just a shame in my eyes. But just to close out the Esther Reed part of the story, she was on the run for 2.5 years before she was arrested. I believe she was sentenced to 4 years. I think she is out now, by now, free and clear. And quite honestly, that's all I want to go into about her story. Let's get back to the story of Brooke Henson. Henson's loved ones stated that it is extremely uncharacteristic of her to leave without warning. Her family said that authorities did not begin a search of the area until 3 weeks after her disappearance. Investigators reportedly believed that Henson left of her own accord and expected her to return shortly afterwards, but now they suspect foul play. Her family describes her as a fun-loving woman who enjoys hiking and being outdoors. She dropped out of high school in the 10th grade. Investigators believe Henson was murdered and they have a suspect in her disappearance, but there is not enough evidence to charge him. Her case remains unsolved. And I'm wondering if that suspect that's mentioned in the Charley Project is this guy. I just did a quick search on Shaun Shirley and bumped into a Facebook profile here. Quite honestly, I'm not even positive this is the same Shaun Shirley, although he appears to be possibly the right age, and it looks like his education is Travelers Rest High in Travelers Rest, South Carolina. So he happens to have the right name. Looks like he at least used to live in the right location, and apparently now he's a self-employed MMA fighter in Greenville, South Carolina. Now, what might be interesting about that, Greenville is actually going to come up again in a little bit. So is this the right Shaun? Maybe, maybe, maybe. In terms of updates, I hit one on this missingfromsc.blogspot.com on the Brooke Lee Henson page, and it was in the comments section, posted February 24th, 2015 by Kat Caraway. I'm neighbors with her parents, and police found human remains but have not been able to identify them as hers. She's still missing. Now, considering how long ago that was, I don't know if those human remains are actually related to Brooke's case at all, especially when you consider the latest news on this case. So let's jump to that article. This one is from foxcarolina.com. We can see it's posted in October just of 2015, so a little over 6 months ago. And they're saying that a new tip could provide a break in the disappearance of Brooke Henson. For years, Travelers Rest Police investigated the case and got a number of tips, but none of them led to Henson. 3 or 4 years ago, we found out she was last seen alive in the River Falls community, Kelly said. So the case has been turned over to the Greenville County Sheriff's Office. So I guess the last question is Greenville a city in Greenville, the county? I guess that's a quick and easy search. Let's check that out. So here at Wikipedia, we see the city of Greenville, South Carolina, and down here on the right, we see the county is indeed Greenville. Is there some chance that Brooke ran off with that boyfriend that she was fighting with? Is that perhaps something about what their fight entailed? Were they discussing running away together or something like that? Just find it a bit curious that, he is stating that he resides in Greenville now, if we're correct about that Facebook profile, and the last tip has pointed them to Greenville County. So I don't know. And outside of that, there are so many questions I have about this case. Just the way that original story goes down. This girl's fighting with her boyfriend. Her parents come home. They see her on the porch. Half an hour later, she decides to walk for cigarettes. I'm not sure if that liquor store is even open at that time. Man, just a very, very tough case to look into. And of course, the media on it is drying up. Most of the links that you find to original content, for example, the Rolling Stone article is no longer posted. A lot of the web links are no longer active. America's Most Wanted has been long gone, so all the web links they have out there that are referenced by other websites no longer work. Very, very tough to even get more than one retelling of this story. It seems like the pages that still do exist they're largely just restating the same things that you find at the Charley Project. I'm not sure who said it first, but the Charley Project appears to have the most comprehensive version of the story, and I'm certainly seeing complete paragraphs that have been either copy-pasted to the Charley Project or from the Charley Project on other websites. So this is a tough one, Brain Scratchers. Please, please, please dig into this. Do some more research. If you find some good links on this, share this with all of us in the comments below. I'm also looking forward to your theories. What could have happened that night? Do you have some insight into the possibility of a store being open at 2:30 a.m. or at least some type of place where, outside of a gas station, I don't even know where else you would go to buy cigarettes at 2 o'clock in the morning. But really looking forward to your input on that. If you have friends that are in this part of the country, please, please, please let them know about Brooke Henson. If she is out there, if she is in Greenville County somewhere, maybe there's a chance that she could be found. Maybe there's a chance that she could be reunited with her family. Maybe there's a chance we can hear the other side of this story. We have no insight into what her home life was like. Was she fighting with her parents? Was she unhappy to be living there? Was she looking to just get her life started and wanted to run away from her childhood, much like the person that stole her identity did? There's some pretty weird parallels in terms of those two women. Both of them drop out of high school and both of them get listed as missing. Maybe there's even more parallels that we don't realize. So thank you so much for joining me on this episode of BrainScratch Searchlight, our 100th episode of BrainScratch. I think I'm going to do a bit of a special take on the BrainScratch episode that's happening Friday. I might actually take all of you out to some scenes that are part of that case so we can get outside of the office a little bit and show you some other footage. I'm doing a case that is close to where I'm living now, so I might just take the camera along for a drive and maybe get some footage of some important locations in that case. So stay tuned for that on Friday, and I hope you're having a great week. Thank you so much for joining me on the Geek and Dorks channel. I'll see you next time. Stay safe and take care.